Right, Ganga. Now we'll debrief what went so right or not so right about the interview part.
Sir.
As you recollect, we did talk about the interview. We say interview is nothing but storytelling. Is a story
Yes.
telling. What you're going to tell is what has gone, what you have done in past, either what you did in school, what you did in the college, how did you interact with your family, how do you interact with the society, there's nothing new which comes to play. Over and above, as far as interview is concerned, you would only come to know you have some amount of current affairs comes to play, and the domain knowledge as per the uh, subject that you're going to join, Army, Air Force, probably they would ask certain few questions onto that. Otherwise, there's one other technique. This could be called Mansa Vacha Karma. Mansa through the head that the psychologist does it. Vacha through the speech that the interviewing also does it. And karma that is what is being done by the GTO. All three of them check the same 15 qualities, and they are all supposed to comment on those 15 qualities only. And none of these three people ever talk about the candidate before a candidate, no, before the candidate is about to enter the conference hall. So as soon as the candidate enters before he enters the conference hall, G2 gives out his marks, then the psychologist gives it out, then after interviewing also gives it out. If the total of the three are above 240, one, number two, and have been passed by at least one, then the candidate comes under discussion. Out of the three, if any one of the assessors says I am not ready to come up, that is called angularity, then no discussion, the candidate can never pass. So discussion about the candidate goes on. Was this angularity seen by other techniques also or not? But the candidate can never pass. So candidates are passed if and only if all three assessors agree to pass the candidate. And they think, because the no human is perfect, we cannot be Raja Purushottam Ram. So we have got certain defects. We expect a candidate to be of average qualities. We don't expect a genius to come back. Average means he has proliferation of goodness and some not so quality which can be improved on training. That's the level. If that is the case now, through the speech based upon your past performance, interviewing also tries to find out what did you do in past, and if you have done something good in past, he extrapolates that you will also do well in future. It is not necessary that as a human we won't have faltered. We would have faltered. But after faltering in the past, did we take the right direction or not? Did we try to take the corrective measures or not? That is more important. That is more important. Especially now, the interviewing officer, they call it normally in the candidate language, they call it rapid fire, but it's called CIQ. That normally they go 5-6 questions are standard, and those questions in one question, there are 8 to 10 questions are integrated in the same questions. And expectations are there that a candidate will answer those questions in the sequence that he has asked for. Probably as a technology, it becomes more of test of a memory, which may not be right. That's my take onto the system, but may not be right. But that's what the system is standing, and we have got no option but to stick to it. Okay, so that's how he expects you to do it. Why? It is because there is a tendency of human to remember what comes first and what comes last. In between, there's a tendency to, because our attention span goes down. And so that's a bell-shaped curve really comes into play, and we do remember the first few questions and last few questions, and then probably some questions we are trying to, we know, we don't really remember as such. But the problem is, even if you are in a position to answer about 60 to 80% of the questions that he asked, probably in the sequence, I think that's fair enough. If you missed out a few questions, don't worry about it. He will come back to those questions again somewhere, sometime. He may come immediately or he may come back to you after some time. But he is obliged to ask and get the answer of all the questions that he is planned. This is obligatory on his part to us. Okay. So what the candidates do most of the time is now they get worried, they get anxious. What they'll say, because have I forgotten something? And they have a tendency to go back, say, what next, sir? Can you tell me what I have not answered? Well, that's the answer if you ask for it. Even if you get stuck in between, he will keep quiet to put more pressure onto you. What is the aim is what? Aim is to create a pressure onto you so that your what you call facade, the mukhota that you are putting on, that he has to crack it. Reason for it very simple. Is no, he is working on a conscious domain, and he asks you a question, and that question is of the past, whether you are telling a lie or you are telling truth. There's got no way to find out. He corroborates those points with the subsequent 2-3 points that he left right. The other places he tries to corroborate. Suppose if you say I'm a good sports person, then probably reflected you would have participated in Sunday games. He will probably ask some question on about the game itself. He may even come back to what is the size of the football ground if you told football as one of the sports that you have followed. So that is how corroboration is trying to take place. And if you have, say, you said to tell a hobby, I have got a reading as my hobby. He would suddenly ask, tell me the books that you have read, how many books you have read, which books you have read last, who is the author, tell me the gist of the story. It is not necessary for the interviewing officer to know all the books because he is taking candidates, no, hundreds of candidates. So you can't expect him to know everything that is known. But what he infers from what you are speaking. And from there, he's trying to corroborate and find out whether it's right or not right. And based upon that, he is trying to predict your suitable candidate or not. Out of the three, interviewing officer is the most lenient person. His passing percentage is always higher because if he doesn't pass many times, no candidate will come for discussion because at least one assessor must pass. So there's a pass percentage of the interviewing officer is generally higher. So the people or the candidates should really remain cool when were they going, remain cool and don't come under the pressure. And even the bait, when the many times he gives you a bait. Sometimes when you say, probably I have not done well in maths, probably he'll say, very nice, I also did not do well in maths, and he may laugh at you. If you are telling wrong thing, he will not just frown at you, you are telling me a lie. He will only smile. Oh, that's a possible around there. So that's if you have done a mistake, he will take you into the wrong direction. So you feel he's right, and you always telling I did this, did that, and so many things will come back and think. That's the briefly how the interview goes. Because there is no tool onto him. It is the way he has to extract all these 15 qualities that were to be checked from the speech that you are doing it. Okay, yes, now tell me about your view. What all questions were you asked, and how did you perform right from the beginning until you came out from his office? And what do you feel was not so right? What do you feel what you did so rightly? Because as far as I'm concerned, you have got enough credential to your trade. You have done well as a 10th, 12th. You have done a graduation, you have done post-graduation, you have been part of NCC, you have played kabaddi, you know. So you've got your physical effect, and you look after, you are staying with your parents, not even parents, staying somewhere else. So you seem to having everything making into you. So if as a group, as a person of the, as a group, you should have been able to do well. And if you have not done well, what are the reasons do you feel you're not done so well? Let's have it from you.
Sir, sir, before my interview started, I was very calm and I was very confident that I will do my best there. And I was very calm. I mean, comparing to other candidates who were sitting with me, I was very calm and they were very tensed. But I was very calm. And when my number was called, I went upstairs and gave my certificates beforehand. And after 5 minutes, they called me, sir called me inside. And I was, he asked me to sit down, and he asked me to remove the face shield and mask to keep it aside. And also he said, if you want to have water, you can have it. And the first question which he asked me was, what is your height and weight? And and I answered it, but asking my height and weight is something that makes me a bit nervous. And at the beginning itself, I got a bit nervous. And after that, he asked me, I mean, in the PIQ form we have to write our full name, and we have to underline the name by which you are willing to be addressed. And I have underlined my surname. And he asked me the same, which name would you prefer to be called? And I said, sir, Matthew. And he asked me why you prefer to be called Matthew. And I said, sir, it's my father's name, and I always prefer to be called by my father's name. And the next question was, if someone is making fun of you by the name, how will you feel it? And I said, sir, uh, at that in that question also I got a bit nervous. And then he said, if your teacher is scolding you by calling you the name, Matthew, you are doing this wrong, and Matthew, you are wasting your time, and you are just waste, and such type of comments, and what will you feel? And I said, in that for that question I said, sir, if someone, uh, till now there is not such a situation where my teachers have scolded me for doing or not doing something. And if in a case, if something happens like that, I have done a mistake, and definitely I'll make sure that I will make it correct, and the person who have scolded me will definitely appreciate me for doing it correctly and doing it perfect. And next question was, if do your friends I mean call at your home, and if your friends are uh, asking for Matthew, and they are referring for me, and your father is taking the phone, how will he respond? And for that question, I said, currently my father is not, sorry sir, uh, I said, my father knows my friends, and he also knows that I prefer to be called Matthew. So he have no problem with my friends calling me Matthew. And that was the last question with my name. And after that, it was the I mean, preliminary questions. It was not the interviewing questions. And after that, he asked me the first set of questions, first rapid fire questions, in which there was my education, my percentage from starting from 10th standard, and the examinations which I have given from my 10th standard, and my co-curricular activities, and co-curricular activities, my friends, my relationship with my parents, and relationship with my parents. That was the second question, in which there was a lot of questions. And I started with my performance from my 10th standard, and I 10th, 12th, and also there were the subjects which you love like the most, the subjects you don't like the most, and what are the reason. and and at every point, why did you choose the subject for your graduation and for uh, higher secondary and graduation and post graduation, and what led you to take the subject? What was the reason for you taking the subject? And I started answering from my 10th standard. My performance is 10 still starting from my 10th standard, and and also I have mentioned all the exams which I have given. And after my 12th, I have tried for medicine, but I didn't clear at that time. I have given 2 3 exams, but I was not
Just,
able to.
just stop. Yeah.
Sir, and I mentioned all the exams which I have given. And after my 12th, I have given exams, medical entrance exams, and I didn't clear at that time. And at that time, and after that, I took chemistry for my graduation. And then after I took post graduation in forensic science. And he asked me, since you were interested in taking medicine as your future career, and why didn't you took biology for your graduation? So I said, and don't you have interest in biology? Why didn't you take biology for your graduation? And I said, sir, I was much interested in taking chemistry or mathematics, because my teacher during my higher secondary, my class teacher was chemistry teacher, and the way she presented the class, the way she took the classes, they explain the how she explained the topics, I got much interested in chemistry. And also I have much interest in solving maths questions, and I love to do puzzles and all, so I have much interest in mathematics. So for doing graduation, I would prefer to do chemistry or maths. And then he asked, then why did you wanted to go for medicine, since you have not much interest in biology? And I said, sir, my physics and chemistry was strong, and I had interest in biology, but not to take biology as my graduate subject. And he was again asking me, why didn't you take biology as your graduation? And I don't remember what I answered at that time. And after that, he asked me, okay, after your graduation, why didn't you tried for CDS and AFCAT right after graduation? And I said, sir, I have given uh, CDS once and AFCAT twice, but I didn't clear at that time because my exams, along with my graduation, and I have enrolled into post graduation also. So I have my exams were going on at that time simultaneously. So I was not able to prepare very well for the exams. So I didn't cleared, and I just got at margin. So I was not able to clear the exams. And he said that if you were much keen to join the forces, then you should have tried again for the exams rather than going for post graduation. And I said, sir, I must had a backup plan, and also I had much interest in doing studying firearms. So I took forensic ballistics as my post graduation. And uh, and and he asked, why did you choose ballistics as your graduation? I said, sir, during my I mean NCC, I was an NCC cadet, and I have all the 3 certificates. And when I got my first chance to uh, fire with the firearm, I got much interest in studying about the theories and the actual physics of firearms. So I took my post graduation in forensic ballistics. And he said, if you want to be in touch with firearms, then why do you deliberately want to join the forces? You could have gone to civil services or even Kerala police. And he asked me, have you tried yet? I said, sir, I haven't yet tried. And currently I'm I'm trying to be selected in the forces, and after that I will try, if I am not able to clear this, after I'm getting age over, I will try for civil services. And he said, okay, then you are not stable with your career option. And after that, uh, uh, then I talk about my friends, and I said some of their names from my 10th standard till my post graduation. And he asked me about uh, and at that time I'm a Christian, so we have Sunday classes. And he asked me what is Sunday classes, and I explained to him that all the Sundays, around a church, around a 1 kilometer or 2 kilometer, all the children will uh, come at the church, and we will be having classes and activities at the church. And some of my friends from my schoolings, I mean, two of them are still my friends. And he asked me about, he took a random name, and he asked me, is he your boyfriend? I said, no, sir, he is not my boyfriend, but he is one of my good friends. Then he asked me, why do you say that he is your good friend? So, what do you think that makes a good friend and a bad friend? And also, how do you make friends? Then I said, sir, but for making, I mean, I make friends with whom I feel comfortable. And the next question was, what do you mean by being comfortable? And I said, sir, with them I can share my ideas, or I can share my views regarding any topics, or I can share, I mean, if I am having a uh, confusion regarding something, I can share with them. And he asked me, um, and also I used one word, they are trustworthy. And he asked me, what do you mean by trustworthy? And I said, sir, I can share freely with them. And he asked me, what do you mean by freely? What do you share that freely with your friends? And uh, and okay. And after that, he asked me, who is your best friend? And I mentioned a name. And he asked me, why is he your boy, I mean, why is he your best friend? Other What is the main quality that you see in him, irrespective of the others? And I said, sir, when I reached Delhi, I at that time I had a problem with my communication, because I didn't know Hindi. So at that time he was there, and he helped me in learning Hindi, and also being knowing the places. And then he I mean I when I reached Delhi, I had a problem with food at that time. So he took me somewhere, I mean, at the Kerala house to have food. And he introduced the places to me. So he asked me, is your friend a cook? I said, no, sir, he is not a cook, but he is also doing his post graduation and there itself. And then I said, he introduced me there. So he asked me that, okay, he introduced you to the cooks at Kerala house. I said, no, sir, he introduced the places to me, since I was very new to Delhi. And then he asked me, which are the places that you have visited in Delhi? And I mentioned uh, 2 3 places that at that time that came into my mind. And uh, I said, Parliament, because at Kerala we used to say Parliament Mandir. So Parliament Mandiram. And I said Parliament Mandir, and he said that, Parliament Mandir, is it a temple? I said, no, sir, is it not? It is not a temple. And then he asked me, then why did you say Parliament Mandir? I said, sir, at South India we used to say Parliament Mandiram. So as a as we normally says like that, it just came into my mouth. And he said, okay, fine. And after that I he asked me about my hobbies and interests. I mean, it was in no sir, it was the next question. And co-curricular activities, he asked me. I said in the first question there was the question, and I said, sir, I was the high school representative during my schoolings, and at that time I forgot about my the places positions which I have held during my graduation and post graduation, and I didn't mention it because I forgot it at that time. And after that he asked me what was the challenging situation that you have faced in your life. And I said, during my post graduation, one of at 2 in the morning, one of my friend fainted in front of me, and at that time I took her and I informed the authorities, and I along with my friends took her to the hospital, and I have accompanied her uh, for 2 to 3 days at the hospital. And it was a very sudden thing that happened, and I was very confused what should I do. And I was able to give her a company, and she very fast recovered. And he asked me, okay, are you that strong that uh, took her up and went to the hospital, or you have a vehicle at your vehicles available at your hostel? And I said, no sir, we don't have any vehicles. A hospital was a there were the next it was the next building to our hostel, so it was just a walkable distance. So I took the help of my friends to took her to the hospital. So then he said that that means you didn't do anything. I said, sir, I was with her all the 3 days. And he said, okay, fine, tell me another incident that I mean another challenging situation. It was also something related to helping someone uh, during my schooling. Then he said me something other than that. At that time I didn't remember any incident. So then I said that, sorry sir, I don't remember any. And the question was almost done. I don't remember the other questions. And he said, he then started with the next rapid fire question, in which it had your hobbies and interest, and your spare time activities, and if you have do you get pocket money, and if you get, how do you spend it? And other than that, mm, um, it was a question. I don't correctly recollect the question. And I started with my hobbies and interests, and the sports in which I was in part of. And in that I said that, sir, I am much interested in gardening, cycling, and uh, artworks. And he said, what do you do with a what do you mean by doing artworks and all? So I said, sir, we have a boutique at a place, and that where I used to make stuff, I mean embroidery works there. He said, okay, fine, do you get any pocket money from there? I said, yes sir, I get 1,000 rupees, and also I get pocket money from my father. A total of 2,000 rupees I'll get as a pocket money. And I forgot to mention how I spent the money. And I also forget to mention the internet. If I have internet access, what do you do? I completely forget that question. And other than that, he asked me about uh, sorry sir, at the beginning he asked me, after you got selected, how did you prepare for SSB? And other than being that is different to your normal day. So I said, sir, I usually work out 3 hours in the morning. So after got the SSB call letter, I increased the time, and currently I work out 3 hours in the morning and also 3 hours in the evening. And he said, okay, what all things you do as a workout? I said, sir, I run for 6 kilometers every day. And other than that, I'll be doing stretching exercises and other cardio exercises. And the evening, I will be going to nearby gym and I'll be doing exercises there. And he said, okay, other than that, how did you prepare? And I mentioned I got some books, and I referred to that. And I mentioned the book, Decoding of SSB Interview, and by Colonel Mukteshwar sir. And he asked me about who is Mukteshwar sir and all. And I uh, gave the gave in detail. He is the author, and he is a colonel, and he is at Calcutta, and like that. And also he asked me, do you had any interaction with him? I said, yes sir, I had a couple of interactions with him. And he gave me some points that I should incorporate in myself for uh, to prepare while preparing for SSB. It was also at the beginning he asked. And uh, by this at the second question, I almost forget many of the questions. And at that time, I asked him that, sir, I can't recollect the questions, can you please uh, tell the questions? And he said, try to recollect it. And I tried, and at that time I was completely blank and I was not able to recollect the questions. And I said, sorry, sir, I can't. And he said, if you can't recollect it, then your interview is over. It was nice talking to you. Please leave the room. I mean, it was a bit not so good. And I felt bad that he got bored while hearing to me. And also from the beginning till the end, he was very distracted while hearing to me. And he was yawning, and he was looking here and there. He was, most of the times he kept his eyes closed. And he was sometimes he showed a face that he is getting the irritated by the way I'm talking. And by seeing him, sometimes I tried to ignore what he was doing and I continued with my talk. But sometimes I also got in that pressure that he is getting bored by me. And by seeing that, by the end I forgot almost all the questions. And in short, my interview was of for maximum of 35-40 minutes. And uh, that's it, sir.
Well, let me just tell you now then. What you told me about what you talked with is nothing wrong. You spoke me very rightly.
Sorry, sir.
Whatever you have given to me, what you spoke now, was a fair answer you have given to all. You may have forgotten one answer. That's human. That's human. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay. It is your perception that you went into anxiety, and your perception your perception was there. Let me just tell you that. Normally, I do take about 40 to 1 hour, 40 to 45 minutes. Normally, you can't do more. And if he has about 15, that is a fair enough time he has gone. There's nothing wrong with the timing part of it. Okay. Number two. Now you said initially he asked you about the height and weight and he got that. They are all the techniques. No, you never expected a question. I told you, remember, when we were talking about it, any question on the earth can be asked by IO. The way it is 1-to-1. He may ask who your boyfriend. Did you go around with him? Did you had a holiday? Anything possible on the asking on this. There's nothing. He's trying to find out. So that is create problems with your so initially when he asked you the question about your name and all, that is just to that is called that rapport building. That is what makes you comfortable. But in the comfort, brought only Matthew and he talked about his father. Matthew happens to be your father, and why did he want to find out why only father? Why not anything else? So that is the reason he has put up a lot of pressure on you, and you probably Okay. So what really comes back now, when you talk about you got distracted from the posture and this posture of the interviewing officer itself.
Yes, sir.
You thought he's not interested in me. Probably no.
Yes, sir.
He has he's bored on there. You remember, you must learn to enjoy your own voice.
Okay, sir.
You must learn to understand. When I'm speaking, I'm listening as well, isn't it? When you are
Yes.
speaking to me, you've spoken so well. Nothing wrong with the system.
Okay, sir.
You gave reason, you were logical, nothing wrong. You were sitting, let me just tell you today, except for interview, is still on my understanding, though he has told you can't remember, go out. That's normally he should not have snapped that question. Ideally, he should leave the candidate as he comes in. He should ask you, have you got any questions to ask? Okay, it was nice interaction around. Thanks a lot. Now you can leave. But leaving a candidate unsatisfied end of it is a wrong technique, unacceptable around there. If he's yawning and if he's probably closing eye, listening to you, probably that may be his way of looking at it. But as far as technique is concerned, I don't agree with him if he has done so. If he has done so, but whatever answer we gave it were totally appropriate. What you told me just now, if you have answered that way, then probably you were authentic, you were truthful. There's nothing wrong. You didn't try to hide anything. So you should have been in a position to do well. So there's nothing wrong as far as the interview is concerned. Yes. So leave you have got a guilt feeling in the heart that you have not done well in your interview. You have done well. Let me just tell you around there. That was your strength. Yes, fortunately, everyone has got certain biases, probably that may have set aside and you have put you off. That's part of the game.
Yes, sir.
Yes, the game is over. So then
Yes,
you've got a new game to play.
Yes,
New game to play. So there's nothing wrong. Let me say this is a good interview. What you told me, I listened to for the half hour, 45 minutes. And I didn't get bored. So if I don't get bored, I don't think he would have got bored in either case. You were logical. You gave your points.
Sir.
And you were authentic in what points you gave it. You stuck to your leads. You stuck to what points you gave it. One of points which you have talked about, your surname, fun name, you know, one of that that's part of the system to know. To put a certain amount of pressure onto the candidate so that he breaks, and
Yes, sir.
that's part of the game. But at least at the end, he should have left you happy. That's the only thing. That's that one thing I always disagree with him. He should not really. If you can't do it, that's okay. I have my interview over. That is not the way. That's not the way. Interview also is supposed to be smiling, irrespective when you do or tell a wrong thing to him. He's not supposed to lose his cool. He's supposed to maintain it, calm. That is his job. He's being paid for it. He does no service. But unfortunate, what we get. But overall, look at it. You've got making of everything good, nothing wrong.
Yes,
God
sir.
will be kind to you. Do
Thank
well
you,
in
sir.
life. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
that's a God will be very kind to you. We have spent so much time interacting. I think